Everyone, welcome to the show. I have a very special guest today. You guys will probably remember him and recognize him. I have David Wheeler here. He is the co-founder of Muckrakers. He is considered to be the person responsible for ridding us of Madison Cawthorn and making our lives a lot better in Congress. Still a lot of work to be done, so that's why I have David back today. Welcome, David.
Happy to be here. And just one small correction: the voters were the ones that got rid of Cawthorn, but we helped convince enough voters to.
That is true, but yeah, you did your work and you
Yep,
helped to illuminate the issues with Cawthorn.
you got it.
Um, so, as you know, I wanted to have you back today because there's some updates in regard to your lawsuit with Lauren Boebert. For maybe people who are tuning into this for the first time who don't know the backstory, can you give just like a quick summation of how we got here, how this whole thing started, the impetus, and everything?
Sure thing. Well, shortly after we had success against Cawthorn, remember Madison Cawthorn was uh, very popular in the district when we started to take him on in May of 2021. He was in the 60 and 70% approval ratings, and so Mo Davis and I, who ran against Cawthorn for Congress, um, we decided to take a take what we had left over from our own campaigns and put it up against Cawthorn because we felt like we had exposed some weakness that hadn't been exploited campaign. So,
Hmm.
um, and Cawthorn only won by about 1,400 votes, and we got more than 3,000 Democrats to change from Democratic registration to unaffiliated so they could take the Republican ballot. So we had a strategy, we implemented it. We feel like we were part of the team that got rid of him, and we immediately identified that Lauren Boebert was, they could be brother and sister because
Yeah.
a lot of characteristics very similar. And so we took on Boebert when she was riding high as well and came within 548 votes of beating her. And again, a great candidate, and we do have a great candidate again out there, Adam Frisch in Colorado. And we were part of a coalition that went after her the first time.
Hmm.
However, we were the only kind of outside pack that was really focused on her. And this time around, there's a lot of folks that are focused on getting rid of her. But it was not a difficult decision to target Boebert, primarily
Hmm.
because of similarities with Cawthorn.
Right. And you had, over the course of the past couple of years, you had uncovered some unseemly information about her that, again, illuminated the voters, let them know she maybe is not the person that she proclaims to be. Her past is a little checkered, let's say. You had people reach out to you, correct, to give you information about her past?
Yeah, again, our American Muckrakers has always been one of the hallmarks of what we do is we focus on fact.
Hmm.
Um, Most of the time, we get tips through a tip line or through Twitter, IM, or phone call or email. And if they're substantive, we kind of dig a little bit deeper, and you'd be surprised what people will tell you. Because Lauren Boebert has made a lot of enemies with the way she leads her life, the way she runs her business, the way she politics. And so we've been fortunate that many former staff that worked for her, either at the restaurant or on her campaigns, and former friends,
Mm.
have come forth with, pretty unbelievable information. Like meth use.
Right.
And uh,
Right. And for those who don't know, the allegations are that she's had multiple abortions, that she uh, worked as a paid escort, correct?
and allegedly, again, this is
Allegedly.
all
Right.
we have to couch it in terms of allegedly, just because we have a lawsuit pending, and
Right.
she's defamed me, and she's obviously presumed guilty until proven guilty, but because nobody trusts her and she's a liar. But yeah, we uncovered that, and again, these are sources. Source gives us the information.
Mm-hmm.
We confirm it, and then we run with it. And a source, a woman named Cindy O'Brien, who's from Newcastle, Colorado, um, and I had some discussions back and forth, and in text messages, IM messages, phone calls, which were some recorded, some weren't, and then
Mm-hmm.
meetings in person. She detailed her information about Boebert having 2 abortions in Grand Junction, Colorado, and another one in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. And we found her credible, and we had several other sources that confirmed that. And then Cindy was also the source behind the paid escort information, and the story there
Mm-hmm.
is quite remarkable in that Cindy is an architect by trade, and she had a furniture staging business that rich folks in Aspen would hire her to come in and stage an event in their home and bring in furniture and catering, uh, furniture, essentially set up a house for a large gap, because
Right.
your home, most people's homes aren't, even the rich and wealthy aren't set up for a fundraising event of 100. So she would come in and
Mm-hmm.
add all the accoutrements around that. And she told us very in depth how she went over, and it was at Leslie Wexner's home in Aspen.
Uh,
Um, and it was a fundraiser with Ted Cruz as the main guest. And in saunters Lauren Boebert on the arm of one of, I think it was one of the Koch brothers, that had hired her for the evening to come in and be her escort. And again, we've not alleged anything beyond escort. We don't have any
right.
information that she was a prostitute. We've never called her a prostitute. The only time prostitutes ever entered uh, my experience with Lauren Boebert was when her lawyer sent us a letter uh, claiming that we had called her a prostitute. And we never have, never will, because we don't have that information. If we find out she's a prostitute, we'll
Mm-hmm.
be the first ones to put it out. But
Right. Because a paid escort can just be someone who is, showing up for a date with someone. Doesn't
well, right, and
mean that
listen,
they're taking part in any kind of sexual activity.
no, and 2 things on that front. Number one, it's legal in Colorado. If you're registered, there are some counties that require you to register
Mm-hmm.
as a escort. Pitkin County is not one of them. We're asking, you can be a legal paid escort. And secondly, even if she was, you know, being paid for sex, we obviously don't make any judgment about that. It's just her pure
Right.
hypocrisy. And
Right. Just like with the abortions. I mean, no one on the
correct.
left would, necessarily judge her for having an abortion. That is her right. It's her body. But to
Again, it's
present
legal.
yourself as
Yeah,
this moral Christian who refuses to allow other people to live their lives as they wish, that's
correct.
the issue.
That's the issue for us, and it's the hypocrisy of being part of the moral police in Colorado, or at least she
Hmm.
thinks she.
Party of family values.
Party of Family Values. She advertises it on her congressional website. She's a member of, I think, 2 of the right wing family oriented caucuses.
Hmm.
And, everything that we've learned from Cindy and other folks is just completely contrary to that. And it also follows a pattern, Gina, that,
Mm-hmm.
this isn't just an isolated two instance, paid escort deal, a couple abortions and meth use.
Mm-hmm.
There's a pattern here of her life. And again, we don't make any judgment. We're just making sure the voters know about it
Right.
and
Well,
trying to
and
put it into
we also what happened to Beetlejuice
right.
recently.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a continuation
Yeah.
of the pattern. And we'll let voters make the decision or the judgment. We don't judge. We haven't judged her. We've actually never put out any statement that said this is wrong or whatever. But I think the fact that she tries to hide it, even in the Beetlejuice situation, we were the first people to put that out. It was our scoop.
Mm.
Denver Post came out about 90 minutes after, and they'd been working on it, but we had enough information to break it. But the thing about that, she denied it. She
Yeah.
denied that she's been vaping, and then, oh yeah, I guess I was vaping, but I don't remember. Well, why don't you just own up to the fact that you
Yeah.
did this? I made a mistake. I was on a first date. I was having a great time. Kind of got lost in the moment. Instead, it's lie after lie after lie.
Yeah.
And
Well, and how do you forget you were vaping when a woman behind you is repeatedly asking you to stop because she's pregnant and you get nasty with her and say shitty things to her?
mhm,
Not something you forget.
that's right. And it's always listen, it's with these people, it's always somebody else's fault.
Hmm.
It's always the other fucker that got in my way or got in the
Yeah.
way when it's them that instigate this stuff. And same thing with Cawthorn. Everything was always somebody else's fault,
Yeah.
or it's the left wing media or left wing activists making up things. Well,
Right.
actually, no, it's true, and it's your own activity, and you can't blame this one on somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. So to sum up, you bring up all this information, you put it out there into the media, and then she gets upset. She threatened to sue you, correct? And
Well,
then
this
she
is
went
all
on
June of
Fox News
June.
and
Yeah, exactly. June 2022, June 15th. Well, we put it out on the 15th. She responds on the 16th by going on Sean Hannity's radio show on a 10-minute rant. Uh, and listen, this is politics. In her defense against our defamation has been essentially this is the First Amendment issue that should be resolved by the voters or in politics, and people can make up their own mind. Except, and I would agree with that. Except she went on multiple shows with some of the largest audiences in the country, and it wasn't like she just said it once or twice or maybe three times. That's politics. She just went on and on and on. She went on
mhm,
Sean Hannity's show, the most listened to radio show in the country, 30 million people a week.
mhm,
Sean Hannity's TV show, the most 10 million people a night watch that stupid newscast. Then
right.
she went on Tommy Loren's show, one of the most highly watched shows as well. And then she went on Mike Huckabee's Trinity Broadcast Network. And then it was in all the newspapers in Washington, the Washington Times, the Washington Examiner, Epoch Times, Epoch
Mhm,
Times, whatever it is. Uh, and on and on and on. Then it gets repeated and repeated. We ran a LexisNexis search, and there were 45 unique stories in the month of July of 2022
wow.
across the country where the original story had been repeated. And that doesn't include the millions of people that saw it on Hannity and Hannity Radio and Hannity TV.
Mhm,
So listen, beat me up a little bit. Sure, we're in the politics, but when you go on and on and on and say that David Wheeler knew that his story about us was a lie and repeated it anyway, and then
mhm,
changed his story later on because a source told him, quote, it's all made up. Well, first of all, how in the fuck would she know whether I am how would she know what I know?
Right.
She
And
doesn't
you
know.
have written evidence. I mean, I looked,
There's
it's for
source
anybody
material.
who's watching this, it's on
Yeah.
your website, it's on the Muckrakers website. You have all of the messages that you've received
Mhm.
from these people.
And it's all entered into the court record too. I mean, it's
Mhm.
one thing, and that's one thing she does. She will say one thing publicly, but when it comes time to enter something into the record that has to be attested to or otherwise put in front of a judge, she says something else. So, for
Mhm.
example, we use the words very carefully. Again, we talked about earlier. Paid escort, not prostitute, because
Right.
there's two different words, two different things. We
Mhm.
used illegal drug use, not drug addict. She
Mhm.
Two different things, and then we very careful about other words that we used in the lawsuit. Well, her responses in the lawsuit are very interesting. She filed an affidavit for answer. And you're right, this is all available at americanmuckrakers.com/information. Everything's there. All the filings and all the
Mhm.
exhibits. But her affidavit said, number one, that uh, she's never been a prostitute. Well, we never said she was,
Right.
but she didn't say, Gina, she didn't say, I've never been paid an escort
Mhm.
or I've never been an escort. Why would, if you weren't, why would you use the one word that doesn't pay us?
Right.
And then
Yeah.
secondly, she never said that she never used illegal drugs. She just said, I am not a drug addict. Well, that doesn't really
You
answer
didn't
the
accuse
question,
her of
does it?
that. Right.
Yeah. And on and on. She uses words that she wants to put out versus
Mhm.
what we've accused her of. And I just find it very, very interesting that that's her tactic because I feel like it'd be a lot easier to say, I'm not a prostitute. I don't use illegal drugs
Mhm.
unless you are uh, a paid escort and you have used illegal. So,
Right. Right. So you have now filed, or some time ago, you filed a defamation lawsuit against her, and that has been making its way through the court. So I know you just had a hearing at the end of last week. Can you tell us
right.
anything about how that went, where things stand right now, and then
Mhm.
also what is the disposition of potentially suing Fox News as well?
Sure. So, in I think it was early December of 2022, we filed in North Carolina, and Judge Fallon heard it, ruled on it late. Well, we had a hearing in December. We filed in November.
Hmm.
The judge ruled on it and said, "Listen, this needs to Colorado for venue and jurisdiction." Um, he didn't dismiss it outright. Didn't
Right.
dismiss it based upon the merits, which was one of their requests. So we removed it to federal court in Denver, filed in May, found an attorney that was willing to work with us. A guy named Dan Ernst, who's got a PhD and as an attorney and teaches First Amendment law.
Hmm.
Anyway, Dan took the case, and we have been. We got her answer in August, I think it was, and then our response to her answer was filed 2 weeks ago, and then we had a hearing last Friday. So anyway, the it's in federal court with a brand new magistrate judge who is extremely has a very good reputation in Colorado. Has immigrant parents from Uruguay and one of the islands, uh, and she's fairly new in her job, but man, she came out very prepared. Had some great questions. Clearly, had read the readings and understood the case,
Hmm.
and gave defense defendant's attorney lots of good questions, tough questions. Some he answered, some he couldn't, and
Hmm.
then did the same thing to Dan Ernst, who again um, is pretty learned in First Amendment law and didn't have answers, to be honest with you, to all of her questions. So she had great questions. We couldn't really glean which way she was leaning, and I think that's de rigueur for federal court
Hmm.
on to where they're headed. But there were two things that came out of the hearing. Number one, the defense, Boebert's people, had asked to stay all the discovery, and the judge ruled that out over
Oh,
procedural
good.
reasons, or denied it. For procedural reasons, it really, you couldn't really call that a win for us, but it was a win because we could have probably found a reason to agree to that.
So how
And
long
then
will she have, how long does she have to start turning over discovery items?
well, it's not necessarily her; it's more third parties.
Mm,
So, I'll talk about that in a second. But the other thing that I thought was a semi-victory was she's going to allow us to amend our complaint. And again, it's normal procedure, so we're not jumping up and down saying it was a major strategic win. Except if there was a reason, she could have told us no, you can't amend the complaint. So we're going to amend the
mm.
complaint, pare it down to be very specific, based upon kind of the information we've been receiving so far. Plus, we're in the next 10 days. Hopefully, we'll do some discovery. We have to have, uh, 2 weeks first day. So, and then obviously, Boebert's attorneys will get a chance to respond to our motion to this or our amended complaint.
Okay.
But we found those two things as victorious, and then in our motion or in our response to her motion to dismiss, we also included a subpoena that she didn't rule on, but she said it would be covered under discovery, so we had to move forward. So, in that discovery or that subpoena is for Fox News. Multiple people's emails mentioned
Mm.
Lauren Boebert, David Wheeler. So we're hoping they can expedite that and get some of them back to us. And if not, we may have grounds at least delaying our complaint.
Okay. So you, so
So
you're,
so I mean,
you're you're
it was a
asking
90
for a
minute
subpoena
hearing.
for
Yeah.
documents from Fox?
Yeah, documents, emails, anything that
Okay.
mentions keywords, David Wheeler, Lauren Boebert,
Okay.
between executives, between Rupert Murdoch and the Murdoch family and
Mm-hmm.
Suzanne Scott is the
Mm-hmm.
CEO, and John Hannity, and a bunch of the producers that you remember. Well, you may remember, Gina, but your viewers may not. That at the time when she went on Hannity's radio show, they didn't contact me, give me a chance to respond, typically.
Mm-hmm.
But then the TV show that night, they were going to replay portions of her radio show uh, on Hannity's show, and the producer reached out to me
Mm-hmm.
um, because he'd gotten a letter from the lawyer for her lawyer threatening action against me before I got it.
Mm.
And I said, well, first of all, I don't know what letter you're talking about. He said, oh, well, I'll send it to you. Well, a minute later, I got it over his lawyer. But the significance to me was um, they um, they sent it to them first, but then they wouldn't allow me to be on the show at all to
Mm.
respond. And they used one word out of my written response. So
And
and
you've
that
requested
is a
numerous
conspiracy.
times
Yeah, and
since
that's a
then.
conspiracy, and it was multiple newspapers, it was multiple shows because we went to every single one. Tommy Lauren and I know Mike Huckabee. I mean, we worked on when he ran for president. I was producing healthcare
Mm.
association. Sarah and Mike came to one of our events, the Huckabees, and they're certainly not close friends, and I don't identify with the politics.
Right.
I mean, I met with Huckabee in the governor's office. And Little Rock with his daughter, and so there was at least an acquaintance relationship,
Right.
and I couldn't get a response from him to go on his show. Doing on that show and promoting her book, but also ripping on me left and right, and repeating
Mm.
again and again that I knew what I was putting out was lies, and I put it out anyway. And that's the basis of our lawsuit, really.
Hmm.
Um, and I
Yeah, because
think we
she
will.
flooded the airwaves with allegations about you and alleging that you have lied and defamed her, but then no one has allowed you the platform to respond to any of this.
That's correct, and I believe there was conspiracy on her part and her staff to exclude me, put him on. I asked to go on with her mutual times. I mean, can you imagine the ratings? I mean, not that I've got a face for radio, but the two of us on a show together,
Yeah.
having a chance to duke it out um,
Yeah.
about accusations. Well, it's obvious why they wouldn't put them on, because they all knew that some of what she was denying was probably true, and secondly, uh, that she's an idiot and wouldn't have an argument anyway. So,
Yeah.
um, but her working with those news folks to keep me off their shows um, is part of why we're suing, because I didn't get a chance to do that, and there was conspiracy to conspire to keep me off those shows
Okay.
and
So,
harm and ultimately, obviously, harm my reputation, and then which ultimately led to less donations. And
right.
this is my source of income. I mean, I run this pack, and I've got 3 kids and single father. So it's not like
Yeah.
this was just play money we were messing around with here, and I was having a ball taking shots at her. I mean, took this job very seriously, and I would never publish anything wasn't true. And anybody that knows me um, knows that's true. And she took my livelihood away as well as my reputation.
Wow.
We had a 92% drop in fundraising immediately after her accusations. And part of it was, Gina, that she said she was going to go after our
Uh,
donors. So it was a concerted effort
hmm To
uh,
intimidate and
to intimidate me,
yeah.
to keep me off the air, to keep our fundraising down, and to scare away our donors. And she won that round, but we're going to win this next round, and she's going to pay for it big time.
Oh, good. And have you tried to reach out to other news organizations to try to get your side of the story out? Like, have you reached out to mainstream media at all? MSNBC, CNN, or
You know, we have. They're willing to run the salacious parts of it. Dan Dale, who I used to have respect for, I participated in a review of our information at the
hmm
time, and he ran a fact check against us. And I knew it wasn't going to be pretty, because we got a date wrong. It was 2020, or it was 2019, not 2020, on her drunk ATV accident.
mm,
We got the year wrong. Okay, and he rightfully pointed that out. You remember there were 2 pictures of her, one on a bed and another one with a goofy hairdo. In one of those pictures, again, our source to this day says it's her. Well, we took it down because we got some pushback that maybe it wasn't her, and we just said, fine. The story's not really the 2 pictures; it's
right.
the fact that she was a paid escort on multiple sites, which is true. And the longer this goes, the more we learn, because we originally had pictures of her on Sugar Daddy News. Well, we've now got other pictures of her on other sites,
Mm.
um, Sugar Daddy sites and escort sites.
I was going to ask you that. Have you continued to receive information about her since all of this started?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, we broke the story on the Beetlejuice episode.
Right.
Um, and her experience at the theater there. We again we were able to subpoena Sugar Daddy Meats, and they provided us with um, screenshots of the original account where Lauren appears with her mother, as well as the IP address that it was from Silk, Colorado, where her mother lives. So
Mm.
we believe it's an original posting with her and her mother on Sugar Daddy Meats. Well, she said all along, I've never been on a website. I don't know anything about Sugar Daddy websites. Well, horseshit, here you are with your mother on a Sugar Daddy website. And so we think there are others out there, and we're in the process of subpoenaing some of these other Sugar Daddy websites.
Okay.
I just have the sense there's even more to this story that
Mm-hmm.
we're going to uncover. And I'm not saying this to be salacious or dramatic, but I just get the sense the deeper we get into this,
Mm-hmm.
the more there is to it. And I think we're going to get some very hard evidence. I have the sense we're going to get some very hard evidence that she was on other escorts.
Mm-hmm.
I got an IM on TikTok from somebody that was a paid escort at the same time she was in Colorado,
Mm-hmm.
who subsequently met her later on. And she says she was on a site called backpages.com
Mm-hmm.
that was shut down by the FBI for illegal activity, but it's all sitting on archive, web.archive.org, the
Okay.
Wayback Machine. So we're in the process of looking at all these old websites, pulling up all the profiles,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just certain that we're going to come across more information.
Okay. Well, you have to keep us posted on that. And then I remember last time you were on, you said that you had had some communication with her estranged husband, Jason. Have you spoken with him at all or had any kind of communication with him since then?
No, other than he and I texted back and forth about her Beetlejuice incident, and
Mm. Anything you
sure.
can share that he?
Well, I just shared a funny meme that he said was funny, but it really isn't that. But nothing of any substance.
Mm.
I think Jason's trying to maintain his relationship with her so he can have time with the kids.
Mm.
Um, as far as I can tell, doesn't even have a lawyer for the divorce. But
Oh,
uh,
wow.
so I think he's trying to maintain a decent relationship there so he can the kids.
Mm.
But that's all speculation. I don't have any information. I know the Mail Online uh, reporter Laura Collins did, uh, had some, I think, had a phone conversation with him and a little bit more about that. And this guy
Mm.
was
Okay.
in the Beetlejuice episode with Lauren.
Yeah.
He's the boob squeezer.
uh, wow.
Yeah, yeah,
If anyone had told me that this is where we would be in politics,
yeah.
10 years ago, even 8 years ago, I would have said, no way. There would be no way someone would survive in politics after things like this coming out.
I'm not sure she's going to. I mean,
But I mean, the party hasn't tried to kick her out or condemn her in any way, there was a time when they
that's
had
true. Yeah.
ethics, when they had morals.
Yeah. Well, if she was a Democrat, she would have been out a long time.
Yeah.
Um, but those days are long gone, and I think there's a lot of hand wringing about the Al Franken situation even
Yeah.
today. I mean, I think people are regretful that that happened to Senator Franken, and I couldn't agree more that uh, you know I think the line is moved up on
Yeah.
what is even in our party, Democratic Party, what is the reason to condemn, ask them to leave the party. But yeah, on the other side, they don't care. But you know,
Now, the
imagine what the
Overton
world would.
window has shifted on what's acceptable and what isn't, and it's frightening how quickly it has devolved.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. Although, again, in defense of my party, I do think that line is a lot clearer than it used to be. And
Yeah,
there's
but then
certain
you look
things,
at it and there used to be a time when people felt shame and would leave, but now you've got Menendez
right?
on the Democratic side who's like, "No, I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere." I
Yeah, but
mean,
leadership has condemned him at least, and there's been no leadership condemnation
yeah,
of any of these other knuckleheads. But I think Lauren Boebert's days are numbered, and Adam Frisch, who's her challenger, is a great guy, and I encourage everybody that's listening to this to uh, support him in any way you can, even if it's just posting good things about him online or
right.
checking him out and reminding people that there is a sane Democrat running in that race. Um,
Yeah.
and then any support people can send our way at American Muckrakers. Appreciate it because we're solely focused on getting rid of Lauren Boebert. And listen, this has become a personal mission of mine. It's not an obsession. I don't have any uh, personal vendetta really against her, other than she accused me of trying to threaten her and trying to ruin her family life. But which is a
Yeah,
lot.
she's
You just consider the
I think
source.
she and her husband do a good enough job of that on their own.
Yeah, well, she accused me of when I shook her hand. She accused me of that was a threatening behavior towards her and threatened
Oh,
her,
geez.
and she put it in a TRO. Remember, she tried to get a TRO, and she had a preliminary restraining order based upon the fact that I shook her hand, and it was on tape.
Wow.
The judge never saw it, and they never served me, and it was never
God, I didn't know
effective.
she was such a little snowflake and so terrified of everything. I thought she
And
was
the
so tough
irony,
with her gun on her hip all the
oh yeah,
time.
yeah, exactly. And the irony was there were 5 deputy sheriffs next to her, and her husband, who is 6'5" and 300 pounds. So
Mm.
there was no way it was a threat to her. She just think in her own little conniving way wanted to use it as kind of poke me in the eye. She also said that because I posted pictures of a street sign with the name Silt on it, that I was invading her privacy, and because I posted a picture of her family, um, which was which was of the book cover, or the cover of her book, that was threatening her family.
Wait, she has a book?
She has a book.
Oh,
Don't buy it.
God.
I bought it off online
Is it a is it a
from
picture
Goodwill.
book?
Yeah, practically. It's oh, here it is. I actually have it here. Whenever I need to go to sleep, I have it. But anyway, she's got they took the picture, and here she is with her family. Well, she said that I was exploiting her children or something because I put that picture out. I'm sure I had some nasty caption on it, but that was somehow threatening her family.
Oh my
And then her
God.
lawyer in court actually last week said that I took pictures and posted pictures of her home online. Which I was thinking about what, first of all, I didn't do, and I wouldn't do.
Hmm.
And then secondly, who gives a flying fuck? Because you can go onto Zillow.com and get pictures of her home, or go to
Yeah.
Google Earth and get pictures of her home from the air. So, but they're trying to paint this picture that I'm some crazy guy that's obsessed with her.
Oh,
One thing I'm
geez.
obsessed with is getting Adam Frisch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine the world without Lauren Boebert's
Uh,
nonsense. And the
yeah.
people of Colorado, that's the most important thing, is they need a representative. The mass of this district, more than half of Colorado,
Oh,
and
wow.
water and land use and uh, development and broadband are the big issues out there, and they don't have anybody down on the table working on that. And Adam will, and I've met Adam a couple times, and deep respect for him and his family, and Adam Frisch is no Lauren Boebert, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Well, I did hear
Thank goodness.
after our last interview, I had a few people comment, of course, had a lot of people comment, and it was a very popular video, but I had someone from Colorado mention that they had spoken with several people after the election, the midterm,
Mhm.
and a lot of them had never even, unbelievably, didn't know anything about Lauren Boebert.
Right.
So, it's really just a matter of waking people up, getting them to tune in and pay attention, because she, like you said, she lost by, or she won by such a small amount of votes.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
500, just 500 and something people.
46. Yeah. And
Uh,
it was a recount, and had they Colorado has a very fair redistricting process. It's open, it's transparent, it's not run by the legislature, but they chopped out one county that had, I think, a piece of Telluride or one of those skiing communities.
uh-huh.
I can't remember, in the northern part of Colorado. Had they not chopped out that piece of the district, Adam would have won, because it
Mm,
was his the predecessor in that uh, campaign in 2020. I think had a plurality of about 3,000 votes.
oh, wow.
So Adam would have won by 2,500 votes,
Oh,
and then
boy.
he had a recall or thereabouts. But he's
Uh,
got a great campaign. He's out fundraising her. He is a better candidate this time. We all make mistakes when we do something for the first time, and
mhm.
he didn't make any serious ones. But he's been running ever since he lost. He raised
Yeah.
like 3.2 million in the last quarter, and she raised. So,
Wow.
so he's
She
doing
raised,
something right. He's
she
working
raised how
hard.
much? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
I think it was 3.2 or 3.6 million. I
That
think
she,
3.2 million. And
that
she only
she
raised
raised or he
800,000.
raised?
He
Oh, okay. How much has she raised? Do you know?
Well, in that same period, 800,000.
Oh,
So
wow.
he
She's
outraised
trailing.
her, almost 4-1,
Yeah.
which is great. And that's an indicator
Yeah.
of, we didn't have that support last time. We were really the only organization that was. There were a couple other in Colorado, but the only outside organization that were
Mm,
counted on. And we did a lot more than just pound on her. We were doing radio and some digital uh,
hmm.
focused, targeted digital get out the vote efforts.
Right. Well, this sounds like all good news, like it's moving in the right direction. How long would Fox have to respond to these subpoenas that you're asking for?
Well, we assume they're going to fight him. They will file they'll try and quash them, and then
Hmm.
that'll have to go in front of the judge and be briefed. So we're assuming that the bread and butter of this case won't start until sometime next year, where
Mm.
we, assuming she doesn't dismiss it, um, which I hope she doesn't. Um,
Did the judge give you any idea of when she might be making a decision on that?
well, she has to wait for our amended complaint, since we're
Okay.
amending the complaint, and then once we amend that, and then Boebert's lawyers provide a response, and it would be right for her to make a decision one way or another.
Okay. And when do you think you'll be submitting that amended complaint?
I think our amended complaint's due a week from Thursday, then they get
Okay.
3 weeks to respond. There may be another week or so. So,
Mm.
I would say probably around before Christmas, we should hear something from the judge.
Okay.
Maybe even before that. She did mention during the hearing that she wanted to expedite this because it involved an election, or it involved politics.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah. I know they don't
she
like to
understood
do
that she
stuff
wanted to
too
move that
close to
forward.
an election.
Yeah, I think so. I think
Yeah,
she recognized that this was needed to get resolved sooner than later.
right. Okay, so before Christmas, you'll know if the case is moving forward or if it's going to get tossed.
Right, and that assumes we don't appeal it. I mean, we may appeal it depending upon how she rules.
Mhm.
We think we're going to survive the motion on
Okay,
the
good.
amended complaint we're about to.
Okay. Well, this sounds positive. It sounds like you got a good judge there. So definitely keep
Yeah,
us in the
it's
loop.
federal court. It's a different world than kind of state court or local
Yeah,
court. Judges are the best and the brightest our country has. Goodness,
right.
for the most part, except Supreme Court. But anyway,
Yeah. There's a few that that have been handling the January 6 cases where
that's true.
I would beg to differ a little bit, but
That's probably true.
Ah,
Actually, my roommate from college is a federal magistrate
mm.
judge in northwest Iowa,
Oh,
and
okay.
he was as Republican as day is long, but he got appointed by Obama. So
Ah,
every time I communicate with him, I tell him the Obama appointed judge.
oh wow.
So
Uh, well, it was really good to get this update. I'm excited to hear about the, forward motion on all of this, and we'll hope for the best. But yeah, everybody head to American Muckrakers. Is it .org or .com?
eitheror.com is
Okay, you have
primary
both
site, but it
URLs.
redirects. Yeah.
Okay.
AmericanMuckrakers.com is the place to go. And Gina, I'd recommend that you try and get out of Frisch. I think you'd be a good guest. Your listeners would uh, understand that a little bit more about this race and why we want to beat Boebert, because
Yeah.
Adam's such a strong candidate and such a terrific person that I think try and get him on your show.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have a way to reach him, I would
Yeah,
love to
you.
have him on.
I'll help you with that.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great.
Cool.
I'd enjoy that. Yeah,
Awesome.
well, definitely let us know of any news that comes up, any new developments. But hopefully, it's a good Christmas.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. You never know. You never know what's going to happen next. But I think the next news we'll probably make is that Fox is going to try and quash our subpoenas, and
Mm,
we'll have to go in front of this judge to get them informed.
okay. All right. Well, let's hope Boebert keeps making a jackass out of herself.
Yeah, the more she does, I mean, if you one barometer that I think is pretty accurate in some of these rural, smaller district or smaller town districts is you look at the letters to the editor by the local folks,
Hmm.
and that number is the number of letters against drastically. A lot of them are. I used to be a Republican, or I am a Republican, and I gave her the benefit of the doubt twice, but I'm done.
Ah, wow. Well,
And so
that's good
that,
to
I mean,
hear.
obviously doesn't speak for everybody that she's still got a good base of support, but
Yeah.
it's going to be those one and twos in each town that fall off that are going to be the reason she loses.
Yeah. Well, and it's not like she's peeling off Democrats in her favor, right? I
No,
mean,
she doesn't understand the politics of addition. I mean,
yeah.
politics is all about addition and adding voters to
Hmm.
from the last time around, and she's done nothing.
Yeah.
None of that. I think
Yeah. You're not going to see any
lost.
letters to the editor from a Democrat saying, I was a Democrat, but
Right.
Lauren Boebert has won me over
Yeah,
with her
exactly.
with her Beetlejuice show that she
I
put
think there'll be a
on.
lot of ticket splitting by those folks in this part of Colorado where they vote for Trump and for Adam
Yeah.
Frisch. So,
Yeah.
but Colorado will still be solid Biden. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Great state. Beautiful state.
it's an amazing place. I
Love
think I
Colorado.
would be living there if I wasn't in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
politics, the blueness of Colorado's entrenched at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was great to see you again, David. Great
My
to
pleasure.
hear all the updates. I look forward to more. And yeah, definitely get me in touch with Adam. I'd love to have him on.
Well, I'll can't guarantee anything, but I'll certainly make the intro.
Okay. That's,
Awesome.
that would be great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
I'm glad to come on anytime. Thanks for the invite, Gina.